Alright, so this video is the first of the gem dragons on the whole dragon lineup, and they have a weird lore to them. Like I explained earlier in the series that chromatic dragons are the offspring of Tiamat, and therefore they carry on her destructive nature, while metallics are the same for Bahamut and are a lot more noble-hearted for that reason. Gem dragons are just weird. There's this weird lore about there being a first world that existed before Toril, and Tiamat and Bahamut created this ruby dragon named Sardior, and something happened. They end up having to basically smite him, and then all of his pieces land in Toril and end up becoming gem dragons. Yeah, it's a bit complicated, so I'm gonna stick away from all of that. Gem dragons kind of fill out that last row of the classic alignment chart that people still use for some reason, even though I keep telling them not to. It's not good. Well, the chromatic dragons are evil, metallics are good, and the gem dragons are really firm in that neutral category. And today we're kicking off with the crystal dragon, which I think is supposed to be quartz, or it's just crystal. That's all it's called, so I'm not it's kind of vague. One of the main differentials of the gem dragons is that their spellcasting is innate, just like some of the chromatics and all of the metallics, but their spellcasting is through psionics and not so it's intelligence and it's psionics, so it's more, imagine it's more like the crystals that are their body is both made from and also seem to just resonate around them, is resonating throughout the world around them as well. It creates a very interesting vibe. The crystal dragon is primarily light based, so it's its breath weapon is radiant damage. It also heals off of its breath weapon too. It gains 5 temp HP when it does damage with its breath weapon. Very neat. And it also gets its psionics all the way back at Wormling, and has telepathy. That is a lot for a dragon to have. The crystal dragon is like a goldfish. It just likes anything shiny. I'm not joking. Its whole thing about what it hoards is anything that is shiny or refracts light in a visually interesting way. Crystal dragons also prefer frigid, more desolate environments. They're likely to live in snowfields, a lot like white dragons, to the point that, due to how their growth cycle works, when they're first born, their scales are very opaque and pale, so it's very easy to mix them up for a white dragon instead of a crystal dragon. And as they get older, their scales will go clearer and clearer to the point that in older ages they can just go invisible. It's neat, really cool. And part of their whole bright crystal stuff is that this is listed only in the flavor text. I'm not sure if this is something you're supposed to mechanically interpret as well, but they're supposedly supposed to have a very minor connection to the positive energy plane, which this is a thing from old D&D, which is basically a dimension that if you're there, you can't die, because every turn you just heal all damage that is done to you automatically. And if you do manage to die somehow, you explode in this big burst of radiant energy. It's insane. But looking at it, these guys are definitely still balanced for the 2014 rules. They're not as well updated as the new Monster Manual dragons. Yeah. But they do have a couple interesting. This is the ancient stat block, and right here, you can see that spell casting is kind of limited. Dancing lights, guidance, command, divination, greater restoration, hypnotic pattern, invisibility. For a CR 19 creature, that is a lot. That is a lot of meh just on the spell casting. But they have other things as well. They can shape change as a bonus action, where the metallics in the current rules have to use a spell to do it. They can teleport 60 feet as a bonus action, and if I check, yeah, it is the same amount of teleporting between all the ages, so it doesn't expand as they get older. Their legendary actions is 1 claw attack, a psychic step or a spell cast, or starlight strike. The dragon releases a searing beam of starlight at a creature. Did DC 19 dex save or 11d6 radiant damage. Yeah, they definitely have some decent combat mechanics. Fizzbonds does have some personality and circumstance tables you can roll for the dragon's personality traits, their ideals, adventure plot hooks, or possible connections they may have to other creatures. And they have rough descriptions for how their layers should look. And yep, there it is. They do have a mechanical effect as well. Yep. The dragon can cast clairvoyance without needing spell components from within its lair, which is pretty cool. Any creature that finishes a long rest within 6 miles regains an additional 2 hit dice. That's because in the old rule, in 2014, you're technically only supposed to regain half your hit dice on a long rest. On the new rules, you regain all of them. And any checks that are made to forage food, by hunting, fishing, or trapping in the area within 6 miles of the lair are made with advantage. Meh. There are 2 last tidbits I want to go over on this dragon that I find very funny, or just interesting. One, they have a great interest in astronomy. They like gazing on the stars, trying to interpret their meanings, literally to the point of fortune telling. I shit you not. These are fucking astrology dragons. If you don't expect your dragons to be racist, now they have space racism. Okay, great. And on top of that, on the whole connected creatures table, where it's things they could have, other creatures they could have a relationship with, one of these outcomes specifically for the crystal dragon wormling is very fun to me. Is a crystal dragon wormling is placed in a monastery to learn the teachings of the monks before returning home in 3 years. The monks don't appreciate the wormling's pranks. That is very funny to me. And there's one more note from the adult. Yes. Something they have in common with the copper dragons, they are very welcome to having guests in their lair. And their personalities can vary anything from fuck off and get out, which is only one of the 6 on that table, all the way to, hey, tell me a joke. Let's have a chat. It's very interesting. But one of the things here listed is that crystal dragon's connection to radiant forces the radiant forces of the positive plane fosters a nurturing, optimistic attitude in most of these dragons. They sometimes adopt the abandoned eggs or hatchlings of other dragons. Many white wormlings have been raised in the caring environment of a crystal dragon's lair. They fiercely oppose destructive forces in their home territories, which sometimes lead nearby frost giants and white dragons to put aside their mutual enmity to hunt them down. That's really good, and holy shit, I'm actually going to hit the time limit at